You always hear me say the majority of everybody's financial stress comes from a lack of control, right? If you don't know how much money you're spending,
Right.
where it's going, what you're doing with it, that lack of control causes stress, right? You don't feel in control of your money. You can't feel the power or the empowerment over your money.
What I discovered through this program was there's such thing as good debt and bad debt.
Yep.
And good debt is borrowing money with a purpose, putting it towards something that's ultimately going to help you build the life you want to live.
Budgeting is just helping you. It does many things, but one of them is just helping you measure your situation so we can find our areas for opportunities to improve.
Hi, I'm Justin Bongiorno, and this is Wisdom is Wealth. Wisdom is Wealth is designed to give you guys practical insights, modern strategies, and even timeless philosophies around gaining wisdom in your life. The wiser we get, the wealthier we will become. This podcast really is inspired by the book of Proverbs in the Bible, which was written by King Solomon, who prayed to God for wisdom and as a byproduct became the wealthiest person to ever live. If he was still alive today in present day, he'd be worth $1.3 trillion with a T. Not because he prayed for wealth, but he prayed to God to give him wisdom. And as he grew wiser, as a byproduct, he grew wealthier, particularly financially, but not just stopping there, in every facet of his life. And in my own life, I have realized that the wealthier I become, it's truthfully just because I have become wiser in life. I'm gonna bring on guests that are incredibly successful, incredibly amazing human beings, and have an amazing financial wealth that they've grown for themselves. And they're gonna share wisdom on their life experience in totality in hopes that something becomes valuable for you to implement in your process, in your life, and in your journey, and see how wisdom truthfully is wealth.
All right, everyone. I'm super excited to dive into this interview. As a lot of you guys know, or if you don't know, I own a company called JFF, or Journey to Financial Freedom, where we do financial coaching for the faith-based and ambitious, and have a program called the Good Steward Program, and where we help you get your money right. And I have one of our best stewards and one of the most ambitious people I know on the call with me today, Danielle Bongiorno, who is not just an incredible client of ours, but has turned into one of my very good friends. And whether she likes it or not, she's stuck with me for life. And so we figure we just keep the party going here with a little bit of an interview. And so Danielle, thank you so much for coming and doing this interview. Would you mind just briefly describing who you are and what you do before we get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Such a pleasure to be here. As always, I love connecting with you. So my name's Danielle Bongiorno. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a motivator. I really am just passionate about helping people step into their most authentic life and kind of overcome any of the blocks that are stopping them, whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whether it's unworthiness, but really just step into the fullness of what life has for them.
I love to hear that. And she's underplaying her ability and gifts and being able to do that. And she's at the very beginning stages, I think, of massive impact. And she is one of the most grounded and peaceful people I know. But, we've grown into that over the years. So would you mind sharing a little bit about how your financial stress has turned into financial peace as a result of going through the Good Steward program?
Absolutely. I was thinking about when I started this journey and where I was, and I was going through a lot of life transition. So as much as I'm a peaceful, grounded person, I was feeling pretty ungrounded, I think, during a lot of that. And, when you go through life changes or transitions, finances is always a question.
Yeah.
And I was stepping into a season where I really need to take more ownership of my finances. And I had never done that before, and it's crazy because I was, pretty successful. I was in a 9-to-5 where I was making 6 figures, but I couldn't tell you how much money I spent every month, or I couldn't tell you, I could maybe tell you what I was making, but I couldn't tell you what was coming in and what was coming out. And I just felt like I lacked power when it came to my finances. It was like, I want to be more empowered. I want to know what I'm doing here. And I want to actually take the money I make and make it multiply, And so I think there was just a big desire in me to, yes, have more peace in what I was doing, but also more knowledge and just be more confident too.
That's so good because, like you always hear me say, the majority of everybody's financial stress comes from a lack of control. Right? If you don't know how much money you're spending, where it's going, what you're doing with it, that lack of control causes stress, right? You don't feel can control your money, you can't feel the power or the empowerment over your money. And so when you replace subjectivity with like, I'm not sure what I'm doing here, I'm not sure where my money's going, I'm not sure if I should be spending here, right? And so on, with objectivity, here's actually what's going on, and here's what I'm going to continue to do with my money. Like, that sense of control leads to empowerment, which ultimately leads to peace. You can't feel peace is something that you don't feel in control of, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In a lot of times, in a lot of ways. And so, you have just such a beautiful mindset around a lot of things. And I think one piece of your mindset that has grown a ton is around the concept of debt. So would you be open to describing your mindset around debt and how it's changed since working with us?
Yes, this has probably been one of the biggest changes for me in how I thought about debt. It's really cool to see how much this has transformed, because I used to think just debt was bad. You don't want debt. That's not a good thing. I didn't understand even why. I started to maybe understand when I bought a house, that debt could be helpful, right? To buy a house and do things like that. But I think I just grew up, I think a lot of us grew up where we maybe see debt go the wrong way, and that happened through credit cards and things. And what I discovered through this program was there's such thing as good debt and bad debt. And good debt is borrowing money with a purpose, putting it towards something that's ultimately going to help you build the life you want to live, or do or accomplish the things you want to do financially. And, I did bring on some debt through this process, but it was good debt because it helped me get so much further toward my dreams and what I want to accomplish. I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But yeah, I know at first I was like, oh, this is scary, and this is, are we sure this is okay? But then I started to realize like this was purposeful. I wasn't just like going out and spending and not thinking about what I was doing. I was taking on purposeful debt to accomplish things.
Shoo, that's so good. I'm probably steal that definition of good debt. It's better than mine. And like, it's purposeful. It's purposeful. It's calculated, and we're being responsible over it. Right. And so it can open up so many doors for you. Like, some of the best mentors that I've hired that have helped me make millions of dollars, and most importantly, a lot of impact, were accessed through leveraging good debt. And so I love that. And so I know it's one of the challenges that you've overcome, but what were some of the main challenges that you faced before working with us? And did you feel the only way to grow past them was either to make a whole bunch of money or to cut out the lifestyle that you enjoy?
Yeah, those are great questions. I think one of my challenges was, this was like a baseline thing, but I didn't know how to budget. I was like downloading these apps and trying to figure it out through apps. And I was like, I can't figure this out, and it was really frustrating. It was such a simple thing, but you gave me a system, right? And that's all I needed, was like, I needed a system. And then that kind of set the stage for everything else. I think the other thing was just, yes, there's fear for me around money of like, is there enough? Is it going to run out? Or even if I have money coming in, like, it never quite felt like enough. And by adding in the budgeting piece and learning how to do that, I started to realize, to your point, that, oh, wait, I can still spend money, and I can still do things I enjoy, and I can still pay my bills or pay down debt or, whatever else I need to accomplish with these funds. And so again, it goes back to that empowering piece. It was like, you realize that you can kind of do it all if you have a plan. Like, you can live, you can pay down debt, you can budget, you can take some risks, as long as you have a plan for it. And that's, I think, what really, really helped me ease a lot of my fears through the process, because it was like, oh, wait, we know what we're doing. We talked about this. We had a plan for it. And so that's why we're taking this step.
So good. I got two things there real quick. And one is, like I always say, you can't improve what you're not measuring. Right. And so budgeting is just helping you. It does many things, but one of them is just helping you measure your situation so we can find our areas for opportunities to improve. It's kind of like trying to lose weight, right? You would that's your goal. You would probably measure your weight, stepping on the scale at the beginning and throughout the process to see where you stand in the progress, right? It'd be really hard to understand if you were losing weight if you weren't measuring the metric that alludes to if you're having success or not at that goal, right? And then one of my biggest things I tell people, I promise you, it is possible to live your life spend your money, and make financial progress at the same time. You just have to be in the right system to do it. And, as I'm sitting here listening, I'm like, man, she's really just mastering these things. Like, it's really, really, really cool. And so, while you've mastered a ton, you've also made a lot of very tangible progress. Would you mind sharing some of those results, like debt paid off, money saved, investments made or grown, whatever you feel called to share? That'd be awesome.
Sure. And I want to say one more thing really quick about that last question too, because I think whenever you hear the word budget, it's immediately like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to spend any money, right? It's like, I'm not gonna be able to spend any money. Like, life is no fun if I have to budget. And I think that was a big, big shift for me. For example, like, I need like a matcha a week. Okay. I need like go to a coffee shop, get a good matcha, at least one, and it's like, I have a line item for my coffee shop, my matcha trips, and it was like, look, you don't need to do 5 of these a week. You don't need to do this every day, but like, you can still enjoy your matchas and like have that in your budget. So anyways, it's, you can live and budget too, but, specific goals and things I've accomplished. Goodness, so many things. I mean, when I first started this process, I mentioned being in the middle of a transition, and I'll be completely transparent. I was going through a divorce, and there was a lot of specifics through that process that I was trying to figure out. We were figuring out what to do with the house, and I needed to take out a HELOC or some type of equity on the home to kind of make these moves. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what a HELOC was, these words that were like a foreign language to me. And the first thing you guys did when I got started was help me do that and help me understand how to do it. And okay, now that I've done it, what's the plan for this? And that was just the very, very beginning. But through this process, I took on debt to do some things, but I probably paid off $15,000 at least worth of debt, and still going down, and things that I have a plan for, and I did everything I did with y'all's help in a way where I didn't pay any interest.
Yeah.
And that's huge. I've been in this program 2 years, and I made a lot of moves and did things without paying interest because of the way you all taught me how to do things.
Amen.
And then on top of that, because I was able to leverage my money and leverage cards and debt wisely, I was able to take steps, start a business, walk away from a 9-to-5. I mean, I can't necessarily give you specific numbers yet. I hope I can come back a year from now and say, hey, I'm making 7 figures now. We'll have that conversation next. But
it will happen.
I wouldn't even have gotten to this point without those steps first. So
yeah, absolutely. You crushed the foundations of building an emergency fund, running a budget, right, where you feel in control of your money, leveraging good debt, paying off bad debt. Obviously, you already own the home. And then from there, you're like, okay, what's the best investment? And your decision was investing in you and your dreams. And it's strongly paying off, right? I think the strong tangibility of numbers will be there, but all the signs are there that the numbers from your business ventures are coming, and they're going to come in large influxes. And so, I think it's just a big part of that is because you play your part. Like, you step up and do what you need to do, which is awesome. And that's so helpful for us in our program because we're a done with you service, right? We talk to a lot of clients about this, right? You have to play your part, or more so, I always say our program is your mirror. You get out of it what you put into it. And so can you describe the time commitment required from your end during our collaboration? Maybe allude to like what responsibilities did you have and like what we take care of?
Mm-hmm. So you guys really set me up for success at the beginning. You helped me, give me all the tools to say, hey, here's how we set this budget up. Here's the plan for the next, I was in the program for honestly 2 years, but here's the plan for the next even couple months to get you going. And so, you guys give me all the tools and even set up my budget for the first, year, I think it was. And then it was my job though, to go in and put in the numbers and stick to it. And then on top of that, I get the accountability where I get the one-on-one coaching, and then I get the weekly calls. That's all optional. But to your point, the more I showed up, the more I got out of it, the better I did with everything, and, but that I would say for me, on a weekly basis, once my budget's set up, I'm spending a couple minutes a day in the budget. My first couple of months, it was a little hard for me to build the habit. And I'd have some catch up days where I was like, oh, I need to spend 30 minutes or more kind of catching up. But once you get it in the habit, I mean, a minute or two, I open my app on my phone, I pop my numbers in. And then from there, it's like the additional stuff I choose to do just to make sure I'm staying on track and growing, whether it's like meeting with my coach or now me and my partner talk about our finances and we make time for that. But it's because it's like it's become part of my life. You know, it's not, it really is. Like it's a very important part as much as exercising for me or, you know, taking care of other things. Now, look what you did. Now budgeting is in one of those categories.
I love it though, because it's very manageable. No matter how busy we are, we have the time, and we should make the time because we make times for things that are important to us. And, you know, like I always say, when you don't have your money in order, it's super selfish, you know? And so I think you've done a great job of, you know, building it into your life and making it a priority where like the time that is spent, it's well spent. It's very little time, and any extra time, it's by choice because you're excited about it, right? And you want the growth. And so that doesn't surprise me. But on the topic of surprises, what surprised you about our services or maybe JFF in totality the most?
I don't know if this surprised me, but it probably just exceeded my expectations were the relationships I built and the community and the support I had through the process. You know, I was thinking about it, you know, just as I'm coming to a close with my time here. And, you know, if you guys would have just said, here are the steps, here's the PDF, like we're here if you need us. That's so different from getting on a call with someone and then getting to know you and getting to know your story and truly being invested and caring about you. And then giving you great sound advice on how to handle your finances. You know, and then you get to come into these coaching calls where there's other people doing the same thing. And just, I mean, I'll take away a lot of financial wisdom, but I'm walking away with these relationships that I built that I'm super grateful for. And just like the love and support poured into me really was powerful during this process.
That's so awesome. You know, I use the word family all the time, but we really are like one big family. And it's like when we first started business, one of our mentors was like, don't make friends with your clients. And I'm like, that's literally impossible with JFF, you know, especially people like you where like, I feel like almost you're growing into being like a sister for me, you know, you know, we kind of look alike. We have a very similar last name and, you know, we've just got a strong bond. And so it's like, I don't care. That mentor told me a lot of really good things. That's one thing I've definitely haven't listened to. But, you know, I'm so happy that, you know, you did decide, you know, back in the day to join us. I think it's been about 1.5 years that you've been with us. It's been an incredible journey, but you were like super on the fence at the beginning. We had to, we had to really talk you into it. And so if someone's on the fence about working with us and they're listening right now, what would you tell them?
I would say the fears are valid. The hesitations are real. I get it. I could have given you every hesitation in the book. Do it. I promise it could be the one thing that changes your life. You don't realize how much finances affect everything in your life until you really start to take care of them.
So good.
And I mean, I kid you not, my life has drastically changed over the past few years. And this was a big piece of that, you know, so take the leap, you know, more like take the leap, go for it. And just trust, like if you feel a nudge to do it, trust that that's right. You know, I mean, there's one thing I've learned in life is that, you know, our fear will always try to hold us back. But if you feel in your heart that this is something you need for your life and your journey, do it. Stop second guessing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, take the leap. That's so on brand with Danielle. And it's a leap because life-changing decisions that are usually in our best interest, pulling us to our higher self or our most authentic version of us are never easy. You know, like they may be simple. Oh, I need to make this choice. That's simplicity in theory, but it's not easy in practicality or application. Right. Yeah. And so if it feels a little challenging, a little scary, that's a good sign. You should probably leap even faster. So anyway,
exactly.
Before we wrap up here, any final thoughts you want to share with the viewers?
I would say, you know, I did a lot of searching before I joined this program. I was listening to finance podcasts. I was, like I said, downloading apps. I was trying to figure things out on my own. I was reading books. And does not compare in the slightest to investing and doing a program like this. Justin's incredible. His team's incredible. What he teaches is great. Everything. You've got all these resources you couldn't even imagine. And then on top of that, there's people that come in that are experts and giving you even more great wisdom and knowledge. So I really would say it's kind of you can't put a price tag on it, honestly.
Amen.
I know you have to, right, for business, but it's one of those things where you kind of can't put a price tag on it because it's something that will impact your life for many, many years to come.
I love that. I appreciate that so much because I'm a big believer in, price is what you pay and value is what you get. And the value should always massively exceed the price. And I'm happy to hear that's been your opinion and your experience. And so speaking of experiences, this has been incredible. And, this has just been magical for me, just to be able to spend this time with you and hear these things. But I'm just so super excited for the audience and some people to hear your story and see themselves in it and hopefully take action on something that is going to be life-changing for them, just like it was for you. And, it's been life-changing for me and us as a company to have a client like you and a friend and a sister like you. And so I just thank you so much for everything you've done for us. And this interview has just been incredible. So thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys enjoy this interview. And we'll see you on the next, whether it's episode, interview, piece of content, whatever you find on my YouTube page. Enjoy, and everyone have a great weekend.